it going, everybody? Combo here. Today we have another tier list video here in Season 4 of the Finals. I know I'm an absolute shell, but I'll be honest with you, I like making these videos, so bite me. Anyways though, as you probably read from the title or the thumbnail, today we're going to be ranking all of these specializations here at the end of Season 4. Perhaps I can do this every season, you know, see where the different gadgets, weapons, all that stuff stand at the beginning of the season, and then by the end of the season, you know, see how things have changed. As we'll soon find out, you know, little changes to specializations, and I'm sure you guys have felt this, can definitely change the meta, and vice versa. You know, there's been the few that have remained dominant for as long as they've been out. So without any further ado, I'll explain the tier list. It's pretty standard. Usually for those who have seen my other videos, I do my own category here, but honestly with the overtuned and competitive tier, really you could argue any of these could be competitive. I mean, they're a big part of your gameplay, so I think that's how it should be. So in this case, we're going to take the standard approach of the S, A, B, C, and D. D means probably avoid it, S means, yeah, this definitely needs nerfed, and you can probably imply the tiers in between. So, enough yapping, let's get right into it. Starting things out with the Evasive Dash. This is my most used specialization, so I'm going to avoid all the bias here. Yeah, this is definitely an S tier. Most of the most competitive players that I see on the light build are going to be using Evasive Dash. It just has so much versatility. You can combine it with gadgets to throw things really far. Of course, the general evasiveness from hence the name, the Evasive Dash, is really strong. And depending on the weapon that you're fighting against, like if you're using a melee weapon with the Evasive Dash, it becomes immediately better. And if you're fighting against someone using a melee weapon, you can really counter them with this, as well as just having the ability to clear gaps and just move around the map faster. Has a short cooldown, even though it got nerfed not too long ago. Yeah, Evasive Dash, definitely S tier. Let me know what you guys think about that one down below. Alright, next up we have the Dematerializer. Now this specialization has a lot of skill expression. I think this is one of the most, we'll say, skill-intensive specializations in the game. And I think I'm going to put it in A, because if you know what you're doing with this, and we're assuming the rankings for these are in the average player's hand, you know, if we wanted to, we could probably take all of these and put them in S tier if the best players are using them. But for general play, I would say the Dematerializer is definitely A. You can use it to steal cash outs, run through walls, cut off angles, and unless people have a way to break walls, that's really the way you counter this, and even then you can use this in ways that, you know, makes it so people can't break certain walls. I've seen some really cool techs online, but besides the point, like I said, Dematerializer is just the jack of all trades for the medium build, and if you want to, you know, pick something up that's both fun and rewarding to play, I would definitely recommend the Demat. Alright, next up we have the Winch Claw, and I think this one as well. I think I'm gonna have to go A tier. Winch Claw does a little bit of damage. Honestly, personal opinion, I wish it did a little bit more damage when it grabs people. I could be wrong, they might have nerfed that. It might have done more initially and they might have changed that. I know there's a bunch of very nuanced interactions that change when you're lowering people's health and getting them in your face, but this thing just makes so many weapons more viable. For example, the flamethrower, the sledgehammer, the spear, all the shotguns are better because of this, and there are better options that can kind of fill that as well, as we will get to later in the video. But as it stands, the Winch Claw is very good for that. And on top of the aggressive application that it has, you can also use it to pull cash outs. One of my favorite things in the entire world is I'll have a teammate put down a jump pad and I'll Winch Claw, and you can like yeet the cash out like super far away. And like I said, especially now because you can pull people off the map, that's another thing you can do. It's really fun, it's really powerful, has a pretty short cooldown generally speaking, of which is lowered if you miss and hit nothing, so it has that forgiveness as well. Very good specialization, I highly recommend it. Alright, next up we have the Cloaking Device. Now this one might be a bit divisive, but I'm actually going to put it in B. And this is just because compared to the other two light specializations, the Cloaking Device is cancer. It is annoying. I despise it with everything in my being, especially when people like to run around with like an M11 and a stun gun. It's annoying, because what sucks about it is unless you are once again just at the top of the player base, you know, you're using this, you run in, you stun gun somebody, you kill them, but because their whole team is probably there too, you're probably gonna die. So what ends up happening to me most of the time is I always get singled out. People run in, they'll stun gun me while they're invis, they'll hit me, and then my team will turn around and be like, what? And kill this person. So I rarely see somebody with Cloaking Device come out with more than 1 kill unless they have just an amazing flank. Once again, this doesn't really give you a way out, and in my opinion, I would rather just use the Vanishing Bomb because, you know, I don't need invisibility all the time, right? I would much rather have the Evasive Dash, and if I want to go invisible, like I said, the Vanishing Bomb kind of fills that need for me, and it allows me to make my teammates invisible. So for that reason, and what I said before, gonna put the Cloaking Device in B tier. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. Alright, next up we have the Goo Gun, and this one really hurts me. This is a very hard ranking for me. Part of me wants to put it in A, compared to the other options, you know what I mean? Like, when the game first came out, I was a Sledgehammer Goo Gun main, like, nobody's business, right? But where it stands right now, I think I'm gonna have to put it in... You know what? No, I'm gonna put it in A, and I might get some hate for that. That's okay. I think the Goo Gun, to the unexperienced player, like the average player who's probably put a few hours into it, you may not see as much success. This is kind of where I'm going to break my own rule, because the Goo Gun, similar to the DMAT, this is the DMAT of the heavy build, because there is just so much you can do, right? You can use it aggressively, you can shoot people with it, you can use the flamethrower to make giant chains, you can no longer build a Goo Ship, unfortunately, rest in peace Goo Ship. But once again, there's just so many obscure techs that come with the Goo Gun that I couldn't even mention them. As well as, you know, generally speaking, this gives the heavy a lot more mobility, because you can climb things, you can pillar up like you're playing Minecraft. Once again, the list goes on. So for me, even though, you know, it can be weak depending on the map and the people you're playing against, I would say because it's just so versatile, I have to put it in A. So if you disagree with me, that's fine, I understand. But as it stands right now, yeah, I'd say it's A tier. Alright, this is going to be another very hard one to rank. We have the Healing Beam. Now, here's a hot take, right? I think the Healing Beam, it's strong and I like it, but I feel like it's very tied to how useful the Defibrillator is. So in this case, I'm going to put the Heal Beam in S tier. And unlike the Evasive Dash, where I don't necessarily think it needs a nerf, if they wanted to nerf the dash, I get it, but back to the Healing Beam. Because the defib is so strong right now, and because there's so many ways to keep your team alive, and the Heal Beam kind of feeds into that, specifically in Season 4, the Heal Beam is kind of overpowered. Like I said, one of the drawbacks to using the defib is people spawn at half health. However, you know, when you just have a defib on them as soon as they come up, even if you're only able to give them a little bit of health, it makes a big difference. Especially when you get triple medium and you're always healing each other. Even if you don't, if you only have one medium and they're just healing the hell out of everybody, you know, this negates that nerf that happened not too long ago where the different builds heal at different rates. Essentially, this allows you to turn everybody on your team into a medium or a heavy with the same healing factor as a light. And you can argue, well, you can't shoot while you're using the Healing Beam. And while that's true, your average player isn't just going to use the Healing Beam in the middle of nowhere where they're going to get shot. And if they do, then they get punished. But what I'm saying is it's really hard to punish this. There's really not many downsides if you know what you're doing. So as it stands right now, I'd say Healing Beam is probably an S tier. Alright, next up we have the Mesh Shield. And this one, I can't even lie to you, this one really does kind of hurt me. Because when the Mesh Shield was at its peak, I used to love it. I actually dropped one of my highest kill games ever. I think I dropped like 42 kills. This isn't a tournament. This is in one match of Quick Cash. Like one match with 3 teams. I dropped 42 kills. And that's because the Mesh Shield is, or used to be really strong. However, this season, yeah, I got hit pretty hard, which is why I'm going to slap that thing right in C tier. You can disagree, that's fine. I do think there is application. As I said at the beginning of this video, a good player can make it work, and I have seen it work. Just putting that out there. But as it stands right now, the cooldown from popping it up and down I think is unnecessary, first of all, but the big one obviously being that health decrease. In my eyes, right, I would much rather have the other options that we've discussed. As we'll get into, there's one that kind of stands above the rest, but also you have the Dome Shield. Of course, you can combine these two if you want to, but for me, right, I would rather just give up the shield to use the Dome Shield. That's kind of my take. Once again, I might be missing something here. I know there's a lot of really cool interactions, and I'll probably do a video on this. Let me know if you guys want to see that, like an interactions video, like best specialization weapon synergies. I can totally do that, let me know. But with the SA-1216, right, once you shoot your 4 shots, and then you have to kind of like rack it, if you pull up the mesh shield, you can actually cancel the animation and be defensive. So that's cool. But other than that, and there are a few other niche interactions, not the greatest. I would much rather have the other two options. Alright, next up we have the Guardian Turret, and I'm going to slap that right in A. I think that's a pretty easy bet. Guardian Turret has always been super annoying, especially if you hate lights. This is the specialization for you, because unless they're invisible, right, this thing just locks on, and because you don't have a lot of health, this thing doesn't care if you dash, it just lights people up. Of course, heavies, you know, they don't really have too much of a problem getting rid of it. A really cool interaction, if you didn't know this, you can actually backstab it with a light. So if you're using the dagger, you can get out there and counter those turrets, but that, you know, that's assuming you can get to it with the dagger. But yeah, Guardian Turret, really good at locking down areas. There's some cool techs you can do, right? You can attach it to barrels, you can, you know, I showed all these off in my Guardian Turret video. Highly recommend it, it's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. But yeah, once again, super good. Once again, not really too many downsides. It can block bullets, it diverts attention, and I know, at least in my experience, I get a lot of kills for not really doing a whole lot. So once again, wouldn't say it's OP, it's definitely good. Guardian Turret for me is A tier. Alright, so now we have reached the elephant in the room, right? Every build has something that's really good and popular. Charge and Slam, I'm just gonna lay it out there, best specialization in the game, without a doubt. It provides so much utility for the heavy build. It gives you movement, as I showed off in my Charge and Slam video, and I know I'm not trying to plug, I know I've done it like 2 times now, I apologize, but, you know, as I showed off in my video, there's just so many uses, a lot of them allowing you to one-shot basically every build in the game with relative ease. You can break walls, you can deny area, you can terraform buildings. Once again, if you use jump pads, you can jump far. There is just so much. And as I mentioned as well, you know, the SA-1216 is really strong right now. You can also cancel that animation with the Charge and Slam. And that's why I put the mesh shield even lower, because that's not even unique to this specialization. This one can do it too. And once again, the damage, you know, all that, the cooldown really is not that long. And let's be honest here, right? I think there is a skill gap. Like, good players, once again, you know, they can do those really cool, you know, jumps with jump pads, get really high, slam down and one-shot people. And I love the power of fantasy. Let's be honest, guys, most people just use it as a panic button. And when they do, there's not really, you know, a whole lot you can do to punish it. You get killed. And I know, as somebody who plays a lot more medium and light than heavy, you know, getting killed by this is really frustrating because it doesn't really feel like you can really do a whole lot. So that's why, for me, Charge and Slam, definitely S tier. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, though. And finally, we've reached the grappling hook. And this one, for me, I'm going to put it in A, right? I don't think the grappling hook is OP. I don't think it's bad by any means. This gives you access to movement like no other specialization in the game. I would say this is probably the best escape tool in the game. I don't really think that, you know, I don't really think that's too controversial a statement to say. Being able to get on buildings. I also love using this to escape from people, as I showed off in my video. I know, you know, at this point I feel bad. I'm just showing my videos. I'm not trying to, but it's an easy way for me to reference things without having to go into a whole explanation. So that's why I'm doing that. But anyways, you can do little bunny hops to get away. You can grab statues and fly off. It's really good with the sniper and the LH1. And really, like I said, it's kind of like you can use it in a lot of ways. It's not as good in those close range fights as the dash, but if you want to, you can use it as like a diet evasive dash as well, if you know what you're doing. So for me, grappling hook, very well balanced. Honestly, maybe the most well balanced gadget in the game, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely A tier. What's that? Did you think the tier list was over? No, we have another specialization. For those OGs out there, what is that? Is that recon senses? S tier, baby. Best, you know, get out of here, Charge and Slam. Best gadget in the game, recon senses, baby. For those who didn't know, this is literally aimbot. This is quite literally, you press a button and you see people through walls. I have a short showing off this specialization. It was busted, like to the point where Embark just said, yeah, I don't know how to balance this. We're taking it out of the game. And it might come back. You know, Embark has said they want to bring it back, but do we really want that? Does anybody want that? I don't want that personally. It was fun to use because you have aimbot, and that's cool. But also, you play against people with aimbot. And if you think the medium meta is bad now, think about the FCAR at its peak. You know, the entire lobby would all be mediums, and they would be running this, and everybody could see everybody through walls, right? And you could just, people would just sit behind corners, because it's like, you know, if I peek around, I know this guy is using recon, he's just going to shoot me. Definitely the worst time to ever play the finals. And you can argue with that, you know, in the comments. It's all about opinions. Like I said, I'm all about talking through stuff like that. But if you say otherwise, I disagree, right? Recon Senses was the worst thing to play against ever. I am so glad it's gone. Let this thing rot in its grave. So yeah, S tier. Anyways, everyone, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments section down below. You know, also, as I said, as we go forward into Season 5, I look forward to potentially making these videos. Once again, maybe I'll make it for all the gadgets, all the weapons, all the specializations at the beginning of the season, and then perhaps kind of where we're at right now, I'll make them at the end of the season, and then we can kind of compare how things have moved. I think that's really important because a lot of people, you know, will do videos about changes that happen, but they aren't really cumulative. So like if you watch a tier list video at the beginning of the season, unless you are keeping up with all the balance changes, right, it's kind of difficult to know exactly, you know, what's different and all that stuff. So hopefully I can do that and kind of bridge that gap, you know, so you understand what's going on. But yeah, let me know what you want to see, or if you'd want to see that in the comment section down below. Anyways, guys, I'm going to quit yapping. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Of course, let me know what you think of my rankings. I am always open to change, so, you know, prove me wrong in the comment section. Anyways, guys, this has been Combo. Stay home, stay safe, and yeah, peace out, everybody. Later.